Welcome to the Yvonne Candy Show. Motivational, inspirational, and just plain fun. Where celebrities check in and you can check out what's fresh in entertainment, business, health, finance, and more. It's all about your lifestyle. Here's your host, Yvonne Candy.
Well, happy Yvonne Candy Show Tuesday, everybody. It is beautiful out here, and I am grateful because we have been in a storm. I'm sort of scared for the weekend to come because I think it's supposed to, rain again on Thursday? I don't know. Thursday, Friday? Well, anyway, it's a great day to have my guest today. But first, I want to introduce my guest for next week. It's Frank Rizzieri, celebrity hairstylist and CEO of Rizzieri Hair Salons and Spas. Frank has been featured in magazines such as Courier Post, Travel and Leisure, Beauty Bean, and more. His own celebrity status comes with a very interesting background, though. But we'll hear about that next week. Frank will also be talking about the hottest new hair and makeup trends for this summer. Now, my guest today, I'm very excited to introduce because he's a business expert, and that's just right up my alley. Paul Szyarto. He is a consultant, a business expert, as I said, and people call him the success architect, but I call him the business guru. Paul has been on NBC, Cheddar, and countless other medias giving advice to business owners. And he's right here on the Yvonne Candy Show to give you advice. So call in 888-829-3306. That's 888-829-3306. And ask Paul, I think most any question.
I'm here to answer the questions.
Because he just told me that don't ask them certain questions. So call in and just ask Paul just about anything you want to about business. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me.
Paul, you come from the 80 percentile of dysfunctional families. Nothing new. But it was violence always in the home. And one of the things that I love to try to get across to people is how to have the right kind of mindset. How do you develop that will to change your life? And they call it the paradigm. Mm-hmm. How do you change that paradigm?
Well, I think that, whether you're growing up in a supportive family or a dysfunctional family, the instinct to survive is always there. And I think you need to grasp that instinct of survival and try to apply it to anything you're trying to succeed with in life. And for me, I really, took full grasp of it, and I started to apply it with business opportunity. So any and every opportunity I saw to make a buck, I did what I had to do to survive, essentially.
But you were 5 years old when you started, so were you thinking like that at 5 years old?
Honestly, I think I was.
Wow.
I was at the point where, simple things like, I feel bad saying it at times, but, things like, lunch money, or, buying clothes,
and you were thinking on an entrepreneurship level at 5 years old?
I don't think I was
amazing.
thinking as an entrepreneur. I was thinking that, for me to eat, I needed 50 cents.
The same thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I looked at every and any opportunity to acquire the money I needed or the change I needed for that time period to eat some chips or a hot dog.
I think that you are just talented.
I greatly appreciate that. I think everyone has this talent, so it's just kind of uncovering that or releasing that survival mindset.
Not only at 5,
mm-hmm.
you went to school. You went to Wharton.
I did.
Tell us about some of your accolades.
So I joined the military at 17 years old, and I knew I was a smart kid, but I didn't realize I was, let's call it, intelligent. So I went into the military, and I scored very high on my ASVAB placement exam, mm-hmm. and they put me into an electronics technician role. And after a few years of doing that, I found my groove. I found my groove in studying, and I craved it. I did anything and everything to just extend my knowledge base. While in the military, I attended Park University. Did a bachelor's in business and human resource management, and then I said, okay, I could do more. So I went for an MBA with Cameron. Then I said, hey, I could do more. I finished the military. I went to Brandeis University, got another master's degree, and then I said, hey, I could do more. I attended Wharton's AMP program, advanced management program. I also went to Oxford University. I did so I didn't quite finish my MBA in the military. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to have a top 10 MBA. So I applied to Oxford University and spent 23 months in the London area. So
wow.
Yeah.
That, I don't understand how some people can have such a strong drive after coming from a background like you came from. Do you think that your background is what drove you to be successful?
It's actually interesting you bring this up. I'm actually trying to be placed for my PhD right now, and this is actually a dissertation study. One of my options to try to identify if there's a trigger in the mind, like a PTSD type trigger that kind of like supports or unleashes the survivorpreneur or entrepreneur in people. So for me, it was less about having things or things that I wanted. It was more about building a foundation to have the things that I needed. And from there, I've always built a solid foundation and secure foundation of things that, I've needed. And from there, you start controlling the constraint of time, and you're starting to have fun with what you do, and you can start expanding and start going after things you want. So
it's sort of like survival skills kick in. And,
I think it is. I think it really is. It's a survival thing.
Yeah, and you've learned that early on. At 5 years old, you've had those survival skills. That's really great.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think children know what's going on at 5 years old, but they do.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do. And it has a major impact.
Yeah, I can remember, when I was 5 years old. So if I can remember when I was 5 years old, I'm quite sure when I was 5, I had thoughts about doing certain things.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the first thing that you would do if you wanted to start a business? The very first.
Okay, so the first thing I would do starting a business, and I've actually written papers on this. So it comes down to something I like to call ideation. So it's idea generation and validation of that idea. So a lot of people, they say, hey, I'm going to start a business. I have this great idea. And the problem is they don't validate whether it's a quantifiably viable idea. What that means is they never go through the steps to identify if it is a financially sound idea. So most people go, I want to start a business. I'm going to start this. I have this great idea. The problem is they never exceed the base of one, which is, I think it's a great idea. What about other people? Do other people think it's a great idea? Can it be something that you could sell? Can it expand? What's the quantity of potential users that would support this idea, that would want to buy it or need it or want it? So that's what I would say is you really need to validate your idea, whether it's quantifiably viable, and if it is, then you proceed to the next step.
And we're going to talk about that in a second. Hopefully, we have a guest calling in from California, Jessica Ross. And she is an expert PR person. And Jessica, if you hear me, call in, girl. We're waiting. We have a few questions for you, too. Also, if you want to call and ask Paul anything, or even when Jessica calls, if you want to ask her anything because she is an expert in her field, she's a successful entrepreneur. The number is 888-329-3306. Again, it is 888-329-3306. And we're talking to Paul Szyarto. Now, Paul, we were talking about
ideation.
But I see that Jessica's on the line here.
Yes,
Jessica.
hi, everyone.
Hi, Jessica.
How are you?
I am doing great. We're sitting here with Paul Szyarto, who is a business expert in his own right. And he's talking about the first thing you should do when you start a business. And I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jessica?
The first thing, I guess, There's so much. I would first say create a business plan.
That's a good one.
Definitely create a plan of how you're going to run the business and start the business and marketing and everything that goes along with it.
Now, we were talking about ideas. What if it's a good idea, or is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Paul, how would you say you can determine that? You think you should do a survey? How would you determine that?
Well, I mean, so I have a definition of an idea being, let's call it quantifiably viable. What does that mean? I mean, a lot of people qualify their idea and they say, my idea is good, it's great, it's bad, it's horrible. So what you need to do is I'm a math guy, so I put the numbers behind the idea. So what does it mean to be quantifiably viable? It comes down to reach and the conversion of reach. So, for example, let's say I'm coming out with an iPhone. Let's say Steve Jobs goes, hey, we have this idea. It's an iPhone. It's going to be this, this magical device. It's going to be an electronic device. We're going to be able to store music on it, blah, blah, blah. So Steve Jobs may have thought that was a great idea. Now, the problem is, do other people think it's a great idea? If you know anything about Apple, they came out with an iPad years before the actual iPad was released. And the problem was, at the time, it was ahead of what society was ready to accept at the time. Mm-hmm. So at the time, it sounded like a good idea, but it wasn't quantifiably viable. So same thing with the iPhone. So we have to identify if, one, what is our target? What's our impact target? Are we looking to make $1 billion? Are we looking to impact 1 million people? So we start working backwards. If that's the case, we have to go through steps of, all right, I want to make 1 million deals. How do we do that? I have to ensure that we have 1 million opportunities. We have, 1 billion people we could potentially reach with this and convert down the chain.
And you're talking about what Jessica just said now. Maybe put all of that in a business plan.
Well, I would say business plan is probably a later step.
A later step, okay.
Only because, you have... The thing is, why invest time in a business plan?
If you don't know if it's even a good idea.
The idea is not going to work. So let's identify if it's a good idea versus bad idea first.
Right.
And then from there, let's test the market. Test the market just based on assumptions. Let's ask Dr. Google. Dr. Google's great. Dr. Google can answer just about anything.
I love Dr. Google.
Yeah, right? It's like... So, if Dr. Google says it sounds like a good idea and you could actually quantify, that the idea can be sold, there's a need or want for the idea, then guess what? Let's move to the next step. Next step would be planning, So this is where we start building a financial plan, and all of these components would go into a business plan. So business plans are typically, all-encompassing. And, again, a lot of people neglect validating that first step.
Now, Jessica, isn't there a way that you can just you Google, what is that called when you just Google a certain word that comes up, and that will tell you if a lot of people are interested in it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like, you mean a Google search?
No, it's not a Google search.
She's talking about word analytics, keyword analytics.
Right. Would that help any with that?
It would. So you have to understand too. A word versus an idea. So if I typed in iPhone or magical phone, would it come up? So typically Google does analytics on single words or multi-word.
Right. You think that's a good...
And that's like blogs and social media, and that's kind of different than testing out what an idea is good.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you're running a blog, you want to make sure to include certain keywords that when people search, they find your blog posts or social media posts.
Right,
so it's it's completely separate from that, but definitely very important.
Yeah, I think they're good tools to use. Especially if you're starting out, out on a business. What I like to tell people is to make sure that they have a marketing plan together, because I don't care what you do if nobody knows about you.
Very true.
It doesn't make any kind of sense at all. And Jessica, I wanted to ask you, after you decide, like Paul said, whether this is a good idea, whether it's a bad idea, and then you get all of this stuff together and then you put it into a plan, what would be the next step?
So next in terms of marketing and publicity would be first to know your audience and know who you're going to target for your marketing PR campaign. And then choose the right platforms. Are you looking for TV, radio, internet, or a combination of everything, print media? And then you have to find a good angle for a pitch letter and press release, and then start sending the press release out to your media list. So it's very important that the media list is targeted correctly and that you're pitching to the right outlets. And so then after emailing everyone, you make sure that you do all the follow-up calls because the media outlets get so many emails, and so you have to follow up with several other emails and phone calls until you reach them. That's kind of quickly send up.
Jessica, I can't hear you very well, but I believe you were talking about some media things there. Go ahead.
Do you hear me better now
Yes.
from this? Okay, I'll put you on speakerphone for now on. Okay,
Yeah,
I do apologize.
you sounded like you were underwater, and I know you weren't underwater.
Definitely not underwater today. No.
Well, I wanted you to add something to this, and that's branding. How important is it to brand? Once you get all of this stuff together, you have to set up shop now. You have to let people know where you're at, who you are. How important is it to brand?
I mean, it's very important, especially when you're starting out, because people do not know who you are. So you really have to do a lot of social media posts, attend local events, put yourself out there, do as many interviews as possible, whether it's TV interviews, online interviews, print interviews, podcasts. When you do podcasts, you really get to connect with people and, get to know your fans, and fans get to know you and potential customers and clients. So no matter what business that you're working on, it's really so important to also have a vision and know what are you trying to stand out for, what makes you different.
And that's where you come in.
Exactly. That's where a publicist comes in. Our job is to help you get, as much important publicity as possible and to really make your brand successful. And it's a really combination of publicity and social media and branding and putting it all together to create a successful campaign.
So you do the personal appearances. Let's say radio shows, television shows, whether it's online, offline. And what about print media? Is that what you take care of for your clients?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Print included, of course. It's all part of it. So yes, I have a combination, whether it's newspapers, magazines, TV shows, blogs, podcasts. So I always do a combination of all different outlets to get the most possible reach.
Well, Jessica, I appreciate you calling in. Why don't you tell everyone how they can get in touch with you?
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I love to connect with everybody. You can find me on Instagram at Jessica Ross Official, and on Facebook, it's Jessica Ross 2018.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Okay, ciao bella.
Bye.
So, Paul, let me know what is the hottest thing now as far as home businesses is concerned. What are your views on that? Don't tell me. Don't give me that answer.
Look, Yvonne,
he's looking at me all strange when I sent him these questions ahead of time. He's looking at me like, what?
I'll give you the best home business.
What about franchise?
So the best home business or franchise is one that makes money. All right. So,
oh my goodness.
So here's the problem. Okay, when it comes to home business or franchises, too many people get excited. They have passion for the idea again, and they don't do their homework on what they're getting into. Home businesses. I mean, look, you could start a special paper route. You can clean windows. You can do whatever it may be. Here's the thing. This is what I love about America. America is built on people that are innovative. They come up with great ideas. And as long as it has a margin, revenues, it's a great home business.
Well, that's why I asked you that question, because this is America, and this is what we do. We're the land of the entrepreneurs.
Land of the entrepreneurs.
We're the land of the small businesses. And anybody and everybody from another culture is trying to get to America so they can be that entrepreneur or that business person. I had a guest on the other week, and I don't know if you heard her. Her name is Katerina. okay, and Katarina van Durham. And she comes from the old Czechoslovakia, which was communist at that time. And there was no middle class.
Yeah.
And so there was no opportunity. I mean, she didn't even realize, well, I guess maybe she did because she wanted to get to America. But she said when she was little, she didn't feel like that she was underprivileged or, she didn't have certain things.
Yeah.
Like when she said that she loved her life.
Yeah.
But I guess as she got older and she starts seeing that the Americans had a lot more, then she says, hey, I want a piece of that too, you know, and so she came to America. But I'm saying that because everyone wants to start a business, and no more the days where you have to go out and take a 9-to-5. You really don't have to take a 9-to-5.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, and one of the things that I like to get across, especially to young people, is that you have options. It's not just, okay, I have to go to 9-to-5 or I have to go to college. College is wonderful. It's wonderful. And it teaches you a lot of things, just not what's in the books.
Yeah.
Okay? And you need that. But you definitely have options. If you're talented, I think that people should take advantage of that. I think that they should look for their resources and educate themselves. I think out of everything that we talked about, I guess education is like really important on what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have any education, I mean, like I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said she knew somebody that was wanted to get into plants.
Yeah.
You know.
You know something interesting when people say to me, what's the best business idea? What's the best home-based business? Whatever it is. And instead of focusing on what the best business is, what I like to say is, let's instead of focusing on, creating something, why don't you just look around you and identify the needs and wants of people? The problem is people don't analyze people anymore, and when you start understanding people, you can quickly identify opportunities for needs and wants. And if you can provide a need or want better than anyone else, or at least better than some people, guess what? You have a business. You have a potential business there because it may be quantifiably viable. All right. So it really comes down to what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve $1 billion, look, it better be a good idea. If you're trying to achieve a basic, your basic cost of living, look, you could plant, you could put plants in pots for a living. Right. You really could because people need someone to do that. You could start a landscape business. You can, become a resume writer.
Right.
You just need to find a special skill that you can do better than someone else. And is there a need or want? Go do it.
And you were talking about a business that makes money.
Yep.
That is key.
It's key.
Because you have to have something that you can manufacture cheap, and the markup is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
America's is 70% service-based, all right? So think about that. People like to pay people to do things for them, all right? So they also like to buy things. But if there's someone who needs or wants someone to come in and do something for them, guess what? Find a skill, go do it for someone. And then it comes down to once that idea is validated, that it's quantifiably viable, okay, move to the next step. Try to create a brand. A brand comes before marketing. You have to know what your vision is, who you are, before you start telling people what your vision is and who you are. The brand is who you are. You understand who you are. Marketing is going out to the public and telling everyone else who you are. So, look, I could go out on the street and sell chiclets and make $1 million. So
I know you can,
but so can everyone else because people need chiclets, right?
You have a book out, right?
I do. It's coming out soon.
It's coming out soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, never broke with a large N. Never broke in.
Never broken. Financially,
what's
never
the story
broken?
behind that title?
So this is it's a kind of play on words. So never broken meaning financially never broken and psychologically never broken. So my drive also comes from people telling me I couldn't do it. So if someone ever tells you can't do it, something. Your job as a human being is to prove that you can do it. I mean, that's your survival instinct. Saying, look, I'm going to do it no matter what. And guess what? You may fail, And here's a fact. Failure doesn't mean you stop. Failure means you learned to progress forward because this didn't work, so you shift. This didn't work, you shift. Okay, so that's one base, is never broken psychologically, meaning no one will ever put you down. Secondly, is never broken financially. Here's the thing. So many people live outside of their means. So, I mean, I don't need the mocha latte cappuccino with extra cream from Starbucks every day. That's going to cost me $14. So instead of focusing on drinking 3 of those a day, how about this? Drink coffee at home. Or better yet, drink water because it comes from the tap. All right? So you could live on that, Get what you need, fill your base with the finances you need. And then once you're secure and you've learned to live on a need basis only, then guess what? Everything you make in addition to your need base, start investing. Invest and create additional streams of revenue.
Right.
Okay. So that's what I mean by never broken psychologically and never broken financially, because too many people complain that they have no money to do X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Guess what? You should only complain if you don't have money to have a roof over your head and eat food. You know
what I don't understand, Paul? How can you complain you don't have any money when you buy cigarettes?
Exactly.
I don't. Look.
It doesn't make sense.
You're destroying your health. Look, do you smoke, Paul?
I do not. I do not.
I'm talking.
No, not me.
No, but you know what? You're spending $200, maybe $300 a month. I don't know what it is because I don't smoke. What can you do with that money?
You know something even crazier? I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't go to Starbucks. Why? Because
Dunkin' Donuts.
I do go to Dunkin' Donuts sometimes. Right? Okay. Actually, I go every day. So I splurge on $3.52 a day.
Expert.
So look, I deserve it. Right? I deserve my Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
But I've earned. Don't you hate when people say I've earned it? Here's the point. But if you think about it, if I spend $4 a day at Dunkin' Donuts, 4 times 5, that's $20 a week times 52, that's $104, I think, or $1,000 a year, whatever it is, So think, I could take that money and I could invest in something. I don't need Dunkin' Donuts.
That's right.
But I'm at the point where I can splurge a little bit. So
well, you have to treat yourself sometime, and that's supposed to be one of the
but only when you've already covered your needs.
That's right.
So think of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, he's having a good day because he buys a special bacon, egg sandwich from McDonald's. Think of that, from McDonald's.
Right. Tell us about your event coming up.
So, so we have an event that's going to cover 10 key topics from the book. So I believe in there's kind of a template to life. So let's say that we're kind of trying to survive at this business of life.
Well, give us one, just one topic that you're going to cover, because actually it's an introductory to the book, right?
Yes.
And you're going to be having a book signing.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so let us know one of the topics. Well, matter of fact, I think we might have ran out of time, but let us know when, where it's going to be, and the time.
May 3rd, it's going to be in Jamison, PA. It's going to be from 6 to 9. It's a free event. You're going to hear me chat about these amazing ideals, 10 key ideals, focusing on stress management, time management, templating, streaming, of course, mentors. So.
Oh, wow. I can just keep on talking with you, Paul. Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here on the Yvonne Candy Show. And don't forget, until next week, live the life you deserve, as Paul says.
Thanks for listening to the Yvonne Candy Show. Want to know more? Check out YvonneCandy.com.